Well, we're here with Jeff Brown, COO and industry expert as it relates to supply chain. Jeff, I'm really curious to talk with you about a big issue that we're dealing with in industry and globally for that matter, which is there's a lot of international conflict going on. One of the ones in particular people are talking about a lot is China and Taiwan. What's your advice and what are your thoughts on how should people be looking at that situation in addressing supply chain challenges right now from a device perspective?
Yeah, thank you, Travis. Great question. It is sort of the hot topic right now. So God forbid there be a conflict between China and Taiwan. But the key things that we're looking at is understanding your level of exposure and risk to that region. Not even only China and Taiwan, but looking if you have suppliers in Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia, that these areas could all be impacted by a potential conflict. There could be no-fly zones, cargo routes could be rerouted all over the world if there were, unfortunately, a conflict. And so take a look at your safety stock levels, given those risks, and be sure to dive into tier 1, tier 2, and if you can, tier 3 level suppliers to truly get a feel for that risk. Another thing that we've been looking at is setting up backup capacity in a more localized region, nearshoring, if you will. So Mexico is a hot location, yeah. Costa Rica as well, but primarily countries in Central and South America that have good trade agreements with the United States, getting backup capacity there that could very quickly become primary capacity if there were a conflict. And then the third thing that we've been looking at is strongly looking at the possibility of vertical integration, basically making and supplying our product ourselves. So not only does this streamline the supply chain, but it also gives you ultimate control over your own supply, and whatever margin that you'd be paying to a supplier, you're ultimately putting that into your own pocket. So those are some of the things that we've been looking at to try to de-risk a potential situation.
Jeff, your comment having to do with vertical integration, that really resonated with me because some of the issues that I see from a supply chain perspective, PTFE, for example, heat shrink, as well as just sterilization in general. And, when you talk about going vertical, those are things that I'm seeing people looking at and assessing whether or not bringing that capability internally, is a benefit longer term. So I think you're spot on in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. So hopefully there aren't conflicts such as this, but if there are, you want to be well prepared in advance.
Jeff, thanks for the insight.
All right. Thank you.